What's going on, Dolphins fans? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. So 2-6 record now. Miami Dolphins have another loss, back-to-back losses since Tua has come back to the team. 3 losses in a row now, going back to the Indianapolis Colts game, and things are certainly not going in the right direction for the Miami Dolphins. And naturally, fan base pointing a lot of fingers right now, and there certainly is a lot of blame to go around, as you do not want to be 2-6 at this point in the season with a pretty difficult schedule to go for the rest of the season. Still some difficult games on the schedule, like the Texans, like the 49ers later on this year. So it's going to be a massive uphill climb the Miami Dolphins are to somehow make the playoffs, but all likelihood that is not going to be the case. And a lot of blame is currently being put on head coach Mike McDaniel for these recent struggles in the team's record so far this season. Again, 2-6 on the season. And flat out, I think that is completely wrong, a completely wrong assessment to make of the situation. Tomorrow, I'm going to make a video on who I think is to blame for what's going on with Miami Dolphins and who I do think should be fired. Probably not right now, but at the end of the season. And I think this man does get the majority of the blame and should get the majority of the blame for what's going on right now with the Miami Dolphins. But I've seen a lot of Miami Dolphins fans in comment sections, whether Instagram, YouTube, the fan base in general. I've seen a lot of people calling for Mike McDaniel's head, and it's a very easy thing to do. Losing record at this point in the season, 2-6. Just lost to your division rival, which you've only beat now one time in the last 12 games. You lost to the Arizona Cardinals at home. You lost to the Indianapolis Colts on the road, albeit without Tua. Still a game that a lot of Dolphins fans, including myself, expected the Dolphins to win. You don't get those wins. You're really a few plays away from being winless at this point in the season. If you look at the Jags game, that game-winning kick avoiding going over to overtime, the Patriots game with Jalen Polk or Demario Douglas, whichever one it was, if he just doesn't get that heel down out of bounds, very likelihood is the Miami Dolphins lose that game, and you are looking at a winless start of the season so far. And it is just so customary that when things are going, it's the easiest things to do. But when Miami Dolphins were without Tua, I sat here on this channel, and for what I did give Mike McDaniel some of the blame for what was going on and why things weren't looking good. I called him one-dimensional. I called him I guess a fair weather coach where things are going great. He is fantastic. When the scheme is without some of its best players, the scheme falls apart. And that certainly is something that you could probably still criticize Mike McDaniel about with some of those games, like the game against Tennessee, like the game against Indianapolis, where there's just no reason we should have lost that Indianapolis Colts game. And the Tennessee Titans, the scoreline was really bad, but if the offense just could have put anything together, very likelihood is we should have won those 2 games. So it is very easy to put the blame on Mike McDaniel for what happened then and what's going on right now. But with Tua out, I maintained that Mike McDaniel should solely be judged on what happens with Tua in the lineup. And again, you can say, why is he so reliant on an injury-prone, unathletic quarterback, not mobile? And to that I say, fair enough. But that is what he is. That's what we know him to be. That's what he's proclaimed to be. So if that's what he is going to base his identity around, fair enough. Let's judge him when he has that man in the lineup. Last 2 games with Tua in the lineup, Miami Dolphins are top 10 in scoring. They have done something that I really did not think they would be able to do this year, and that is establish a legitimate running game, not an empty calories running game, not a touchdown dependent to look good running game. I'm talking about a first, second down rushing game to set up third and short. Be able to sustain a 90-yard drive where you run more often than you pass, and even a lot of those pass plays did go to running backs, mostly Devon Achane. Sustaining long drives in general. Last year, a lot of 4, 5, 6 play drives. Maybe run on first down, play action, Tyreek Hill 50 yards down the field. Jalen Waddle will pick up a 17-yard chunk, and then you're in the end zone. That is how the Miami Dolphins won games last year, and we have not been able to do that this year. A lot of cover 2, a lot of just push back the safeties, push back the middle linebackers, make the Miami Dolphins beat you on the short to intermediate routes, and also make the Miami Dolphins beat you in the running game. That is what the Dolphins have done the last 2 weeks. They've heavily relied on Devon Achane. They've gotten Raheem Mostert more involved, although he just continues to fumble the ball and does not have the same pop and athleticism that we saw from him last year and saw from him earlier on in his career. Miami Dolphins have been able to take that and put up 27 points each of the last 2 weeks. As a team, you put up 27 points in back-to-back weeks. If you just average 27 points over a season, you are likely going to win more games than you lose. with Tua in the lineup, that's what the Miami Dolphins are doing. Last 2 games, 27 points, going on the road into Buffalo, good defense, very formidable atmosphere, a team that you've struggled to play in recent years. And Mike McDaniel, his side of the ball, he's gotten right. Passing game has accepted the fact that they're not going to find those big plays over the top. It hasn't been pretty for Jalen Waddle, somebody that, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I would still consider trading Jalen Waddle based off of his lack of an impact on this team. Tyreek Hill doesn't have as big of numbers days, but at any point he can pop, and I think he has a really favorable matchup coming up this week against the Los Angeles Rams, especially what we just saw JSN do to them yesterday. So I really think that Tyreek Hill's in ready for a big bounce back game next week, but he's not been able to get those home run shots. He's not been able to find Tua has not been able to find Tyreek Hill deep down the field, and Mike McDaniel has then had to change the way he runs the team. We've seen a lot from Jonnu Smith. We saw some finally from Odell Beckham Jr. close to the line of scrimmage. We talked in a live stream, which we are not going to be live streaming today. Donovan has to hit the road and head up north for the day, so we will not be live streaming today. But 2 weeks ago when we did live stream, I did mention that for the Miami Dolphins to have success in the offense, they need to find short to intermediate routes. They need to find stuff underneath, and that's where Jonnu Smith and Odell Beckham can really come into play. Odell Beckham is not going to be the burner that at some points he was in his career, but he still has a good first step. He can get off the line. So if you can find him with some slant routes, some dig routes, some curl routes, so you can find him close to the line of scrimmage, that is a good way to get Odell Beckham involved. And Jonnu Smith has clearly been instrumental in the Miami Dolphins just being able to pick up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 yards at a time. Jonnu Smith is always there. He's seemingly always open because the defense is allowing him to be. Mike McDaniel has accepted that, found Jonnu Smith more often, got Odell Beckham involved, and leaning on the running game. This offensive line has excelled when it comes to run blocking over the last month or so of the season, and that was a real concern of mine coming into the season. So Mike McDaniel is adapting. He's got his side of the ball correct. He's scoring. The problem mostly lies on the defensive side of the ball. And you could certainly sit there and say, Jacob, Mike McDaniel is the head coach. He is entirely responsible for the team, whether that's offense, defense, or special teams. And I would sit here and say, you are absolutely correct. Mike McDaniel is responsible for the entirety of the team. There are some very glaring issues on the defensive side of the ball that I don't even think are coaching. I think a lot of it has to come down to personnel. And again, there is going to be a conversation that I have with tomorrow's video as to why that is unfolding. The scheme is okay on defense. The scheme is working well on offense. Mike McDaniel has adapted well from last year. He's got his side of the ball correct. The defensive scheme isn't bad. The personnel are bad. Special teams has been fine. Could use a better punter. Jason Sanders has been iffy at times, but mostly consistent. 27 points back-to-back games. Mike McDaniel controlling his side of the ball. He is evolving as a play caller. He's evolving as a head coach, as an offensive mind. He's been able to improve himself each and every year. And yes, without Tua, had significant questions. And being 2-6 in the season is still very worthy of questions. But he is getting right what he is in control of. He maybe needs to do a little bit better to have some better man management and personnel management. But again, that's a conversation for tomorrow. I'm perfectly fine with what Mike McDaniel has done. There obviously are things you could point at that he is not perfect. He isn't. I could certainly sit here and name probably 8 to 10 coaches I'd rather have. I'd rather have Jason Campbell over with the Lions. I'd rather obviously have Andy Reid. I'd have both Harbaugh brothers. One comes back from college and just seamlessly slips back into being able to run an NFL team. There are coaches in this league that are better than Mike McDaniel, but that does not mean you go out and fire him. Head coaches don't just grow on trees. Look at the struggles that the Raiders have had over recent years. Look at the struggles that the Dolphins have had since just in my lifetime. I'm 24 years old. I've seen the Dolphins run through head coach after head coach, poor hire after poor hire. I don't think that's what Mike McDaniel is. Mike McDaniel is not a poor hire. He is an imperfect coach. He is a young coach that is currently trying to figure things out, and I am perfectly fine with how his offense is running. He's got his side of the ball figured out. There are some bigger issues on this team. that we will talk about tomorrow. Let me know what your thoughts about Mike McDaniel are down below in the comments. If you think he should be fired, if you're somebody out there that thinks Mike McDaniel would be better off this Dolphins team, let us know your opinion down below in the comments why you think that is the case. Let me know if you're a Mike McDaniel supporter. Let us know what you think of him down below in the comments. Check out tomorrow's video on who is to blame for the Miami Dolphins struggles. We will have that out for you noon time tomorrow. But till then, catch y'all next time. Make sure to like, subscribe. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.